Topsham Road, Ryden Lane and at Marsh Barton. The tour then heads to Teignmouth and they're expected to be in the town from around 2:30. And once again in Teignmouth there will be a few road restrictions and closures there. It's Widdicombe Fair today and there's a one-way system in operation in the village and around the village that's been pedestrianised, and obviously if you are in that area today do keep an eye out for an old grey mare. Just for today, Widden down until 3 o'clock this afternoon on the A30 westbound. One lane is closed, that's due to bridge maintenance. That's where the A30 meets the A382. Flights are running to schedule at the county's airports and there are no reported delays on the trains. Traffic's flowing smoothly on the Tamar Bridge and at the moment we've got a 15-minute wait with 2 ferries running at Tor Point. If you've got a travel story we're not talking about, call BBC Radio Devon on 0845 300 28 29.
Is this old grey mare ridden by 7 people?
Yeah, you've got to keep an eye out for it if you're in Widdicombe.
Thank you very much indeed. Get off.
BBC Radio Devon.
David Fitzgerald.
Colin Stickland is on the line. We're talking of incontinence, and Colin has no idea what Widdicombe Fair is, I'm guessing.
No clue whatsoever. I know about the Marsh Mills roundabout at Plymouth, but Widdicombe Fair got me totally there.
Why Marsh Mills in Plymouth, then?
No, I've got relatives who live down in Devon, so I know it quite well.
Yes, it's that well-known, either the flyover or big blockage. Simple as that.
Blockages.
Blockages, yes. Blockages in plural. Incontinence, it's something that we've already been contacted, but I can understand why people don't want to come on air on this one, especially if you are the sufferer, but also there's a lot of carers out there that must have to deal with this, not on a daily basis, but on an hourly basis. What products are out there that can alleviate the problem and make your life, in plural, your life easier?
That's a good question, and there are, you look at it on two sides of things. There's products that help manage, and mainly pads of either disposable or washable format that people can wear that will basically absorb any leakages that might occur. So, if people will stay dry, they'll basically hold the liquid and the people will stay dry rather than wet, and obviously any visible signs of wetness won't appear. And then you've got, beyond that, you've also got some products that can help with, for example, pelvic floor exercises and things like that, with people with lighter conditions can help on that side of things. And the other thing that's quite important, especially if you're caring for somebody, is more practical items, things like cleansers to help maintain skin condition, and also things like bed and chair protection, so that anything, if there are leaks that occur, then they're not going to, knock onto the beds, the duvet, or, all that kind of stuff. So people will basically, you're looking to keep the person dry and keep a dry environment by using absorbent products.
Yeah, I was going to ask. There are pills on the market as well which control water production. Which I don't wish to knock it because I know nothing about it. But I thought actually taking pills to control flow, not a good idea.
There are. I mean, we don't sell any drugs ourselves because there's different views on them, and obviously you need to be licensed.
Yeah, sure.
There are pills out there for what you call urge incontinence. So when people have an urge, the two different types of incontinence. Stress is when it's really caused by the weakening of the pelvic floor muscles, and that's when people talk about leaking when they laugh as such, and that is small drops. The other side of it is what you call urge incontinence, where people really lose virtually the entire contents of the bladder, and that's where the message between the bladder and the brain doesn't quite work properly, and therefore people go before their brain gives them time to get to the toilet, etc. And there you need to have something more absorbent. But there are pills around that can help manage that, and they're very successful for some people. Other people find the side effects, which can be a particularly dry mouth and things like that, too strong to continue with. But again, it's a good reason to go and see a GP, tell them what you're experiencing, ideally get a referral to a continence advisor, and they can take people through the various options that are available to them. But with urge incontinence there are drugs that may help. I certainly wouldn't advise people to take any medication to reduce water consumption, things like that. I wouldn't recommend that anyway, and certainly not without having seen a health professional and talking it through.
Indeed. Colin, hang on for the moment. Colin Stickland is on the line. We're talking incontinence today.
Good morning, Devon.
The Tour of Britain hitting Devon today.
16 of the top teams in the world taking part. The most fantastic terrain that they're going to be riding along.
What is there to know about cycling in Devon?
How about this from Darren in Chudley Knighton on text? He says there's no better feeling than beating cars into Torquay when the A380 is jammed up all the time.
Cyclists still choose to use the road. Why?
Cars are designed for cyclists who are travelling at less than 15 miles an hour.
What?
Could be accused of reckless driving or riding when you go over somebody's Cocker Spaniel or something.
Good morning, Devon.
Steve is definitely cyclist no. Why can't they just buy a car like normal people?
BBC Radio Devon.
0845 301 1034. It's the phone line. You can also text 81333. Start the message with the word Devon. Or you can email me, fitz@bbc.co.uk. We're talking incontinence today. Now, it is a health topic. Is it a problem? Do you have elderly relatives that suffer from it? Actually, even in this has been written for me. Elderly relatives, that is not the case. The figure earlier that Colin gave out. Colin, 6% of what age group?
6% of women between 15 and 44, so over 1 in 20 of the kind of female population.
That's quite incredible. Now, according to this, the Royal College of Physicians says that millions of people with bladder and bowel problems face a life sentence of suffering because of low standards of care. An audit of services in England, Wales and Northern Ireland concludes that a fifth of adults are affected and that diagnosis and treatment is often poor or non-existent. Here's our health correspondent, Adam Brimelow.
The audit by the Royal College of Physicians looks at the care of more than 18,000 people. It concludes that services are badly organised and often fail to comply with NHS guidelines. It says many staff lack training, so those most at risk of incontinence, such as older people, aren't assessed and treated, even though the condition can often be cured. The report says the government should ensure that improving services for bladder and bowel problems is a priority. The charity Age UK says as the population gets older, incontinence will be a growing problem, which must be tackled.
Well, that was Adam Brimelow, our health correspondent. Colin, without getting too political here, that statement, suffering a life sentence of low standards of care. Do you want to make a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to a certain extent it's something that we do believe exists out there. There are some excellent organisations and there are some that aren't quite as clued up. And what you find, it's beyond the kind of specialists as such, then knowledge of continence and continence management can be quite poor. And obviously in certain areas where you get a high turnover of staff, etc., you can train people up and they'll leave. And you'll find often products being used and the kind of treatment regimes aren't necessarily as good as they could be. So I think, the studies come at quite a good time and, certainly would echoes what we see around, that there are very simple steps that can be taken to improve continence management. Again, one of the simple ones is regular toileting for people. If you're caring for somebody, then it's important that they're taken to the toilet regularly and encouraged to go, let's say, once every hour or two to maintain the muscles. As just like when you break a leg, if you then start walking again, it's not quite the same. You need to build the strength up with pelvic floor muscles, etc. It's important to keep using them to maintain that function. So we do see evidence of people who may go into hospital and they'll be put in a pad because it's convenient and because people are worried about, workflows and wards and things like that, and they come out worse than they were when they went in. And so things like, we do unfortunately hear from a lot of people of episodes where things haven't been ideal and therefore that's led to a decline as such. And on the other side, we do hear of stories, and we had a customer who was actually caring for a little old lady, and she wrote us a lovely letter just saying how we changed the quality of life for this lady because she'd been stuck inside, feared going out, just so worried about what might happen. I mean, she had a continence issue that was fairly prevalent, and she was just so worried about the impact of that. And when she discovered, kind of a pull-up underwear type product that meant she could go out, her total quality of life just changed. And it's knowledge, I think, with all these things is the main issue. And as the report says, training, I think, and improving the level of continence knowledge out there can only be a good thing for so many people.
There is a case there that barriers do need to be broken down, information needs to be passed around. I know Little Britain has a particular sketch, and I'm just reminded of another one, actually, which was Billy Connolly and his incontinence trousers, which, people found it absolutely hysterical. Do you think that those sort of things either do damage or help also to break down?
I think to a certain extent. I mean, the good news is they do get the topic out there, but I think the Little Britain one maybe, I can't really comment on the Billy Connolly one, but the Little Britain one maybe also, although it was obviously beyond the condition as such, just did maybe put some stigma back in there, and it can make people a bit afraid. And again, the bad news is when people, younger people who watch that sketch get another 20 years, 30 years older, they may still remember that and feel a little bit more, wary about coming forward and asking for help. So I'm not sure it really did, a good thing. And it's I can understand the humour behind it, but I don't think it was a good thing really for those people who experienced the condition.